What's up, future millionaires? It's Mike the Investor. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about why the market has pulled back. And those reasons is number one, the Fed, number two, the holiday, and number three, the new variant virus that is going around. Now, I will say the Fed actually has kind of like two reasons inside of that, and we're going to be paying closer attention to that one in this video. Now, before we dive into today's content, take advantage of grabbing some free Bitcoin by using the Voyager and BlockFi link in the description below. But enough talking, let's jump into it. Our crypto investors, welcome back to the channel. Now, there are timestamps in the description below if you are looking for a specific section in this video. Now, before we dive into the three reasons on why the markets have pulled back, let's briefly look at the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, and then we're also going to pull up the crypto price chart as well. Let's check it out. And so we are now on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, and we can see we are at extreme fear at 18. Now, if we look at yesterday, we were at 25. Last week 27, and last month we were in greed status at 73. And so we can just see how quickly things have changed in the crypto space. Now, as we look at the entire cryptocurrency market cap, we are down on the day at 1.1%. It is currently 2.3 trillion and 24-hour volume 143 billion. Now, as we look at the entire space here, we look at Bitcoin, it's right around 48.9, Ethereum 41.5. Now, there are some cryptos that actually went up a little bit in the past week. You can see Terra Luna actually went on a crazy run, but for the most part, things have been all blood in the streets. Polygon went up over 25% past week. We can see things are pretty much all in the red. You know, things have definitely taken a hit. You got Sandbox, you got Decentraland there, Phantom, you know, Leo token hasn't done bad. It's actually performed quite nicely during all of this. And so this is just kind of how the top 100 has performed. You can see everything has taken a dramatic hit. Everything. Engine over 26%. You know, I mean, you could just see everything has taken a major hit. Basic Attention token took a big hit in the past week, but recovering quite nicely here so far. So, I mean, you look at BTT's taking a pretty nice hit as well. There's been projects that's taken even bigger hits, of course, but everything, I mean, everything has been down. Of course, as you can just see, Dash has been down, Curve token, CeeLo, you know what I mean? So this is just a quick run of the top 100 coins in the space today. Everything has been down, you know, so if you're in this space right now today, you know, now let's go ahead and talk about why we are seeing all of this red, you know, in the cryptocurrency space today. Well, as I mentioned at the very beginning, the first thing is the holiday is a real thing. People do take profits so they can buy nice gifts, so they can just lock in for the new year as well to set up whatever they have planned for the new year. So that is a real thing. Now, the second thing that's been affecting the markets would be the new variant strand that's been going around, which has definitely shaken up investors, because if people think there's going to be another potential shutdown, people will take profits to that to lock in to feel more secure if they think they're going to need additional capital. So that is a real thing as well. Then we look at the last thing, which would be the Fed. And there are two reasons inside of this. And before we look at two Forbes articles that kind of talk about this. And so number one, with the rates rising on the debt that we have in the US, is definitely going to play a major part in what happens in the future, because the US can't afford to pay even more money on the debt that they have now, which is why the debt has been rising, because they've been printing money, which is quantitative easing, as well as they've been borrowing money and not actually being able to pay it all back. And so if you raise how much you have to pay on that debt you have, that puts the US in a more detrimental position, which will affect the markets. Now, when you look at the second thing, the Fed tapering back, that means they're going to do less quantitative easing. And in simplest terms, quantitative easing is when they print money and add liquidity to the markets to stabilize them and pump them up. Well, now with the Fed tapering back, meaning there's going to be less liquidity that the Fed puts into the markets, which means the prices are going to pull back because they're not putting as much money into the markets. So yes, we're going to see a pullback from that. Also, we have to understand what the Fed is going to say around the 15th of December to see what they're going to say about inflation, rates, and the tapering back and all of that. We understand they're already going to taper back, and they already have done so on like stocks and bond purchases, but how much tapering back is definitely going to affect what happens. And so let's briefly dive into a couple Forbes articles just to kind of back up a couple things on what I'm saying. And so the Fed is tapering, and this should create a correction in risk assets in which Bitcoin is a part. And we understand that Bitcoin is still the leading factor in the entire cryptocurrency market. And so if we experience volatility to the downside with Bitcoin, the rest of the market will follow. And so the more the Fed tapers, the more volatility we should see in both stocks, bonds, and yes, Bitcoin too. And so 𝗓𝗡𝗫 warned Bitcoin price could drop below 10,000 per Bitcoin, a fall more than 80% from its all-time high set last month, almost at 70,000. Now, the Bitcoin price has recorded similar such declines in the past, which Bitcoin is known in the past to have an 80% decline after it hits its peak. And so this is where 𝗓𝗡𝗫 is getting all of this from. And so he goes on to say, I would take a decline below 46,000, the 200-day moving average, to be a yellow flag, and a decline below the spring low of 28.5 to be a completed massive double top, which points to a decline to below $10,000, which incidentally would match any of the multiple 80+ declines in its stored history. And so now let's briefly go into the other Forbes article that kind of talks about the rates and all of that good stuff. And so we can see that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices have soared over the past year, partially due to the U.S. Federal Reserve policy of ultra low interest rates and huge cash injections into the financial system, which I was just briefly talking about. And so we can see the billionaire Mike Novogratz has warned Jerome Powell could trigger a Bitcoin and crypto market meltdown in 2022 as he acts to curb runaway inflation that's leaped to a 30-year high. And so let's move down briefly and look at the last key sections here. And so after slashing interest rates and launching huge stimulus programs at the beginning of the pandemic, central banks around the world are under increasing pressure to act in the face of surging inflation. And so in recent weeks, the Fed has trimmed its bond purchases, with minutes from its last monetary policy meeting revealing officials are considering further scaling back its quantitative easing measures. And quantitative easing is what they do when they pump the market. And so if they're pulling back how much money they're putting into the market, well, in simplest terms, we're going to see a pullback in all markets. Definitely the riskier market, which is crypto, because it's still so new. Even though crypto and blockchain is the future, it is still the riskiest asset that's here today. And so that is the major reasons on why we have the holiday, we have the new strand of the virus, and we have the Fed. And the two reasons inside of the Fed is the raise of inflation and rates on the debt ceiling, and then we have the Fed tapering, which is taking liquidity out from the markets, not putting in as much liquidity. And so depending on how much they're going to scale back would definitely affect the market, and depend on how much the markets will be affected. And so if you gain some value from this video, most importantly, smash that like button. But that is all I got for you. Remember to stay inspired, stay motivated, always invest in yourself, and I'm out.